Hello. A little bit of updates before I get into today's video. You may have noticed a lot of the social media and even here has had a name change and a profile picture change. So I'm no longer Disturbia, I'm Maddie Hatter. It's a play on my real name. And I don't know how long I'm going to keep up with the PNG tuber, as it's a lot of effort just for a little thing that bobs in the corner. And I'm just like, not really worth it. But anyways, here's a video I've been promising on my social medias. And it's me going through reading to you guys my old Black Veil Brides fan fiction I wrote when I was between the ages of 13 and I believe 15. So this went on for a few years. I no longer have access to this Wattpad, but the account was XX Nightmare Noel XX, and has 38 parts. And after I complete the series of reading it to you guys, I'm going to be slowly editing it so it actually is a better fan fiction. So I feel like us Black Veil Brides fans deserve an actual good fan fiction. Now, these videos are not going to be very cohesive to the story, and I'll tell you why. The story wasn't cohesive itself, but also because I did write about a lot of triggering things, and I'm just not going to read those parts here. If you want to read them, how a 13-year-old decided to write about them, you're free to, but I don't recommend it. Alright, let's get started with chapter 1. Bang, bang, bang. I woke from my sleep to an obnoxiously loud banging at my door. I groaned and got up as quietly as I could and walked to the door. I opened it to see a 10-year-old little boy. Miss Kate says it's time to get up, he announced proudly before running down the hallway. Thank you, Jackson, I yelled back to him before closing my door. I rolled my eyes and walked back to bed. Miss Kate can wait another 15 minutes. As soon as I was about to sleep, there was a knock on my door. I knew this time that it was actually Miss Kate to get me up. Damn, I can't get any sleep around here, I thought. I got up and quickly opened the door. She looked disapprovingly at my new invaders in PJs. I let out a sigh and crossed my arms. A man will be here soon to adopt someone in your age range. Please get ready, she told me before going to knock on Sarah's door across the hall. I closed the door and looked around my room. I'll be 18 soon. Why even try to make an effort to be adopted? Walking over to my dresser, I changed into a Pierce the Veil shirt with ripped black skinny jeans, knee-high Converse, candy bracelets, and my MCR necklace. Brushing my hair, I part it correctly so that it stays half green and half black, and grabbed my iPod. I put in my earbuds and played Savior by Black Veil Brides. Walking down the steps, I stepped in line behind Sarah. I guess she noticed I was behind her because she turned around quickly to only put on one of her famous petty smiles. Rachel, I didn't think you were going to come down. You know, being that you've been here for almost 18 years, I would have given up by now, but it looks like you might as well have with what you're wearing. She spoke sounding strangely like Umbridge from Harry Potter. I put my earbuds back in and turned up the volume. After about 20 minutes, the door could be heard opening and the shuffling of kids getting back into line. Usually people talk about how they wish to be adopted by the couple walking in, but it was dead silent. I decided that maybe I should look up. A man who was wearing all black had walked in. I immediately realized that standing before me is Andy Biersack from Black Veil Brides. I started to pinch my skin and look down at my shoes. This has to be a dream. Chapter 2. Andy's point of view. The band and I have been searching for a daughter recently. We just need someone else with us after Warped Tour. We are just really bored of each other. We needed someone new to come join us, but not in a come join the band kind of way. I look around and see a teenage girl wearing a Pierce the Veil shirt. She had neon green and black hair. Hello, everybody. everybody. This is Andrew. She squinted her eyes at the page. I rolled my eyes and waited for a few moments. Biersack, I said. It's pronounced Biersack. The woman gave me a smile and apologized. So, Mr. Biersack, who would you like to interview first? Said the woman, as she glanced at the children. Since I didn't know any of their names, I pointed directly at the girl wearing the Pierce the Veil shirt. Her, I said, pointing in her direction. The woman looked at me in shock. Then she smiled and said, Rachel, Mr. Biersack would like to interview you first. She walked towards me with her head down. When we entered the interview room, she started pinching her skin. Definitely a fan, I thought, as I closed the door behind me. Chapter 3. Rachel's point of view. I was screaming inside. I actually might be able to be the daughter of Andy Biersack. I started pinching myself to make sure it wasn't a dream. We walked into the room, and Andy plopped down into the office chair. He then started spinning around while laughing like a crazy person. I heard the door creak open. Mr. Biersack, are you— Oh! Shouted the woman. Mr. Biersack, you are not to spin in the chair, scolded the woman. Andy stopped and the woman left the room. You sounded like the laugh in Perfect Weapons, I said. He then gave me an awkward expression. Shoot, I thought. He knows I'm a fan now. I stared down at my shoes when he asked me one question. Do you like Batman? He asked. I jumped up with glee at the mention of his name. I fucking love Batman, I shouted. I then blushed at my colorful use of words. What's your name? He asked. Rachel Turner, I said. No, it's not, he said while shaking his head. It's Rachel Biersack, he smiled at me. And I smiled back. Author's note. Yeah, I know, another short chapter, but soon I will be making long ones. Chapter 4. Andy's point of view. Rachel's jaw dropped to the floor. I smiled and walked out the room to get the paperwork. Holy crap, I said when they handed me the paperwork that was as tall as I was. They sent Rachel up to her room to go and get her stuff together. All I can think of is how happy the band will be once they see her. Rachel comes flying down the stairs and lands on her face when she reaches the bottom. Shit, she said, still lying on the floor. I picked her up and we walked into another room while I signed all the paperwork. It was getting late. I checked my phone and it said that it was 1:24 a.m. I looked over at Rachel, who was falling asleep with her head on my shoulder. I smiled and wrapped my arm around her. She moved in closer and asked what time it was. It's 1:30, sweetheart. She yawned and went back to sleep. When I finally finished the paperwork and handed it to her, it was 2:05. I went back to my seat to wake up Rachel and head to the car. At first she didn't want to get up and started cussing me out. When she opened her eyes, she bounced up as if she was at a boot camp. Sorry, Andy, she said while rubbing her eyes. I thought you were one of the kids who try to wake me up at 4 a.m. She turned and smiled. I smiled back. No, I am the father who wakes you up at 2 a.m, I said while grabbing her stuff. She looked at me with her eyes wide. It's 2 a.m, she yelled. Be quiet, the other kids are trying to get some sleep, I whispered in her ear. She nodded as we walked to the front door. He walked out as she took the advantage to give the finger to all of the caretakers and some of the kids who were still up. I laughed and threw her over my shoulder. How dare you, she yelled while nearly kicking me in the face. How dare you, I yelled back. She had a look of confusion once I put her down. What did I do? She asked while hopping in the car with her stuff. You gave everybody the finger, I said while trying not to laugh at the image in my head of when she did. Chapter 5. Rachel's point of view. Andy picked me up and took me out to the car. I got inside and realized that all my stuff was already in the trunk. Andy got in the car. Buckle up, he said. I don't have to, I said, snickering. He smiled and looked down at me while harshly putting the car in reverse. You're gonna wish you did by the time we're home. He then pressed the gas and we basically flew out of the orphanage parking lot. I was holding onto the seat handle and the door. I quickly grabbed my seatbelt and snapped it in. I felt my face being pushed back. I was screaming and Andy was laughing. I smacked him across the face. Don't you slap me after you remember you are my daughter. He smacked me back while laughing still. When we finally reached home, I was relieved. He looked down at me. Are you going to take off your seatbelt? He said, smiling. I shook my head with a very serious look on my face. He got my stuff out of the trunk. Thanks, I said. I turned around and my jaw dropped to the floor. Is this where you live? I said, not being able to pick my jaw up off the ground. This is our house, he said. We walked in and all the guys came running at us. Felt like I was in a mosh pit. Chapter 6. Andy's point of view. I jumped out of the way as the guys came running towards the door. I forgot to tell Rachel, and she ended up getting tackled by all of them. I started laughing when she started screaming, "Get off of me!" "Whoa, Andy, your voice is a lot more high-pitched than normal," said Cece. Rachel got up and kicked them all. I kept laughing until she ended up kicking me. "Don't you ever do that again, young lady," I said while hopping around on one foot. "I am a child," she said while sticking her tongue out. We all laughed, and soon she was able to calmly enter the house. Cece's point of view. We all came running to the door and tackled who of which we thought was Andy. Turned out to be our new daughter, Rachel. We all tackled. She screamed, and we all laughed until I looked up to see a laughing Andy. "Whoa, Andy, your voice is a lot more high-pitched than normal," I said. Once Rachel got up, she kicked us all in the shins, and we calmly entered the house. I felt bad for Rachel when she sat down. Oh, guys, this is when it starts getting cringy. Oh, no. Oh, no. 3 things were happening. One is that everyone was baffling her with questions. 2 is that I think I like her. Oh, no. And I'm not saying what 3 is because it was kind of a trigger warning thing, and I said I'm not going to say those, so we're not saying 3. Oh, Wattpad has ads again. I forgot about that, so we gotta wait a little minute while these ads are playing. Do 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 do, do 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 do, do 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 do, do 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 do. All right. Chapter 7. Rachel's point of view. I saw Cece looking at me worried in his eyes. Skipping most of this. Skipping a few paragraphs. Because triggering. Okay. I'm tired. When do we go to bed? I asked. Andy looked at his watch. "Well, it is 3 in the morning, so it makes sense to go to bed now," he said, shrugging his shoulders. I walked up to the bathroom and looked at my phone. 30 messages from Sarah, all saying something against me. Skipping this. Skipping this. Okay. I change into my pajamas and head back downstairs for them to show me my room. Only Cece and Andy were there. Andy showed me up to my room while Cece followed. "Night," Andy said as he left waving a hand. Cece just stood there in the doorway. When he heard the door close, he crossed his arms and looked at me. Cece's point of view. Skipping all of this. All this. Rachel's point of view. All I can remember is falling to the ground and hearing Cece yell for the guys. I feel a pain in my leg and my shoulder. Then it was lights out. Something kind of funny about that is that I misspelled my and it says me, so it looks like a pirate wrote it. I feel the pain in me leg and me shoulder. Then it was lights out. Thought that was funny. I know this doesn't make much sense, but for me to summarize what happened without getting into the triggering stuff, she enters the house. She's asking when to sleep. The rest of the band has met her. It's 3 in the morning, so they all head to bed. Andy and Cece show her her room. Cece stays for a bit, and he's helping her with something, the triggering thing, and then she just passes out. Chapter 8. Andy's point of view. I heard Cece call our names. I run in to see Rachel on the ground. "What did you do to her?" I asked, trying to find a pulse. "She did this to herself," he screamed. Skipping that. "What's wrong with Rachel?" asked the frozen-in-place Jinx, staring down at us. Ashley soon ran in and picked her up. We all got in the car with Cece holding onto her head, crying. I saw a tear of his drop onto her rosy cheek. I know we were all worried and really upset, but don't you think that Cece is taking this a little too far? I asked Ashley while he's driving. I don't think so. She passed out. I don't think so. Why did I even write that? I asked Ashley while driving. At a stop sign, he turns to find the still sobbing Cece. Skipping that. My phone starts to ring. It was Jake. "Where are all of you?" he said, screaming into the phone. I wait a minute to see if he has anything else to say. After so, I start to speak into the phone. "Rachel has a problem that we can tell you later. Just get to the hospital as fast as you can," I say into the phone. I hang up and put the phone in my pocket. "Who was that?" asked Jinx. "It was Jake. He's gonna meet us at the hospital." As soon as I get those words out of my mouth, Rachel starts shaking and moving randomly. Skipping this next part because I don't know why I thought of this. "Shit," screamed Ashley as we slowed to a stop. "What is it?" I said, turning towards Ashley. "We ran out of gas," said Ashley, banging his hands against the steering wheel. I get out my phone and called an ambulance. 5 minutes later, the ambulance finally got there. Only 2 people could ride in the ambulance. Me, because I was the legal guardian of her, and Cece, because he cared about her the most. Chapter 9. We finally arrived at the hospital. When we got in the hospital, only Andy could go with her because he was her legal guardian. I sat down in the waiting room watching the news. 2 band members of the Black Veil Brides were found at night with no gas, no phone, and no connection. The 3rd band member arrived at exactly 6:49 this morning. I looked away from the television. I was different from everyone in the room. I had on all black with a white shirt, and I looked like I was going to a funeral compared to the kids in their pajamas and the adults in bright, happy colors. I soon saw the other guys walk in through the front door. "Over here, guys," I said, waving at them. They all walked over and sat around me. They took my phone and looked me in the eye. "Cece," Ashley said. "What?" I said, return. "In the car, you were really worried about Rachel," Ashley said, staring me down like a vulture. "Okay, we all did," I said, trying to shrug off his own stare down. "Cece, Rachel is only 17. Yeah, I know she was a teenager." "Come on, Ashley, just blurt it out. Do you have the feels for Rachel?" yelled Jinx. Everybody turned their heads and I just smiled and waved. They then turned around. "Yes, okay. Are you happy?" I whispered. I watched as Jake was about to say something, but a nurse came out and walked up to us. "Guardians of Rachel," she said. We all nodded our heads. I love that I put her to say that when earlier none of them could go to the hospital room because I said they weren't the legal guardians. This is so funny. "Follow me," she said as she turned around and walked away. We all followed until we turned into a room. There on the bed was Rachel. She had her eyes closed and an oxygen machine over her face. She had blood pumping into her arm through the IV. Andy sat there in motion for us all to come in. Andy's point of view. "Cece, can you care to tell me what all of this is?" I said, glancing at my daughter. "Well, I noticed it when she first saw her on the couch. And we're skipping through all of this. She cried in my arms, and when I asked to see her arm, she, fainted," Cece said, facing Rachel. Jake turned to look at me and said, "Cece has something else to tell you, too." I faced Cece as he closed his eyes and let out a huge breath. I think that I'm in love with your daughter, Rachel," he said, turning to face me. It's been a few days since then. Today the doctors told us that she had been talking and opening her eyes. We are going to go see her in an hour. And that is all I have time for. It's 9 chapters. I hope you guys found it as cringy as I did. And I wanted to apologize if I'm talking really quietly or if you hear background noises. I'm doing this right this morning that I post this, right before I go into work. so my family's up and walking around, and I'm like pausing it because I don't want them to hear the cringiness. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and hope you have a good day or night. Bye.